Hello everybody, this video is about colons and what the rules are for using them in your writing. In school, I've noticed quite a number of people avoiding using colons because they are unsure of the rules of when to use them. So I'm hoping this video will be helpful in guiding you and giving you some clarification as to when to be using them properly in writing. There are a few tasks within the session, so please can you have a pen and paper ready to complete those tasks when asked to do so. Okay, so the first thing I want you to think about is how would you describe a colon? If somebody asks you to define what a colon is and how to use them, what would you say? If you want to pause the video and just write down your initial thoughts about colons and when to be using them, do that now, please. Once you've done that, have a think out of 5 at this moment in time. What would you score yourself at in terms of how confident are you with using a colon? So 5 being very confident and 0 not at all. How confident and how often are you using colons in your writing? Okay, so I did say we're going to look at some rules today of how to use them. We're going to look at 2 rules. So we're going to look at rule 1 first. So rule 1, we use a colon after an independent clause that is followed by a word or phrase that answers or explains the idea set up in the independent clause. Now that does sound a little bit complicated, but I'm hoping through the example, it should make a lot more sense. So here's an example where we have an independent clause, which is a sentence that makes sense stood alone, doesn't require any extra information. The sentence in an independent clause makes sense on its own. So the sentence is, Emma wanted only one thing from life, followed by a colon and then lots of money. So here the independent clause sets us up for a reveal of some extra information, which is where the semicolon provides us with that information. So just a tip, the second clause, so that the phrase that follows the semicolon must be a dependent phrase or word. That means it doesn't make sense on its own. So that phrase, lots of money, would not make sense without the independent clause that comes before it. So here in rule 1, this is where we use a semicolon following an independent clause, and more information and a reveal has been added to that sentence. If you need to make any notes now on how we have what rule 1 is all about and how to use a colon with rule 1, please do so. Okay, so rule 2, this is the one you should be more familiar with. So in rule 2, we use a colon after an independent clause that introduces a list of items. Again, just bear in mind here that a colon is only used properly when it's following an independent clause. And I'll show you an example of that now. So here we are. There are several activities to do on the beach. So an independent clause, a sentence that makes sense stood alone, followed by a semicolon and then the list. Swim, snorkeled, build sandcastles, or read a book. Okay, so bear in mind here, the colon introduces the items within a list. And as I've said, it's an independent clause. So that sentence stands alone and makes sense without the following, the list that follows. Okay, so going back to rule 1 then, just to give you a bit more help with that, have a think, try and think of this colon rule as the lights of a car. So when someone flashes you to warn that something is coming, we could look at this as like a colon. This colon tells the reader that what they're about to read is important. So I've got a couple of sentences here where I have created an independent clause and I've put a semicolon on the end, which is they're ready to be completed by a phrase to follow. So if you would like to pause the video, have a look at these couple of these sentences that are on the slide now and have a go at inputting your own end to that sentence by presenting a reveal or an extra bit of information that would make sense within these sentences. Once you've finished the task, unpause the video and continue with the rest of the slides. Okay, so rule 2. Hopefully we're quite confident with rule 1 now, and there will be some extra time at the end to practice using that. So with rule 2, this is where a colon is used to introduce a list. But as I mentioned, there must be an independent clause before it. Also worth mentioning, an independent, a colon, must be used without needing the words such as, for example, including and such as. So you don't need those particular words when using a colon. The colon replaces those words. So there's 2 examples on the screen now, and we're just going to correct these together. Number 1, make sure you bring equipment that will help you complete the task, including pens, a ruler, scissors, and a compass. So there is no need here for the word including. You could simply take this away and the colon is doing the job of that word, so it is not needed. And in number 2, many birds gathered at the pond, such as semicolon, herons, moorhens, ducks, and swans. Again, the word such as is not needed, and the colon here is in place of that word. So here we have a number of sentences, all which require a colon within them. Now, they either require a colon, rule 1, or rule 2. Rule 1 being a colon that adds extra to the sentence and reveals something extra and something important, or a colon to introduce a list. Pause the video now, please, and have a work through each of these sentences and input the colon into the correct place. Okay, I'm just going to whiz through the answers here for you. So here we have a colon and it is focused on rule 1. So the colon comes after the word thing. Here again, it's looking at the colon from rule 1 again, where we have an independent clause followed by a dependent clause where something's been revealed. 3, again, also the same rule there. 4, introducing a list, but we do have that independent clause starting the sentence, so it makes sense there. 5, again, using rule 2, colon used to introduce a list. And the last one, linked to our school as well, but here we have a colon used to reveal and suggest something important, adding to that sentence. Have a check of your answers and make any corrections that you didn't get quite right. I'm hoping that after this short video, it has clarified a few things that you weren't aware of and you are feeling more confident with using colons. Please comment on the video and give me feedback if you do see me around school, and let me know what other videos you are wanting and need help with to support your writing in school. Thank you for listening.